Can our brains be taken over? In various real-life scenarios, pathogens have demonstrated the ability to alter the behavior of their hosts involuntarily. Let's delve into what we understand about these eerie infections reminiscent of zombies. Take The Last of Us, a popular video game series and its recent television adaptation, where fungal pathogens wreak havoc by inducing a zombie-like plague. Once infected, individuals lose control over their bodies, succumbing to heightened aggression and a relentless drive to propagate the infection through violent means. This narrative isn't unique to fiction alone. The same fungal culprit, Cordyceps, haunts humanity in The Girl with All the Gifts, while viruses take center stage in 28 Days Later, and the novel World War Z. However, the notion of a pathogen wielding control over its host's behavior isn't confined to the realms of imagination. In these zombie-like scenarios, pathogens, be they viruses, bacteria, fungi, or other entities, act deliberately to manipulate their host's behavior. Though we've garnered considerable insight into these pathogens, such as the notorious Cordyceps fungus, which coerces insects into unwittingly catalyzing societal collapse, there remains a vast expanse of knowledge yet to be uncovered. So, Cordyceps fungi exist in reality. Yes, the Cordyceps fungus is indeed real, and it encompasses a group of fungi that infect insects. Among these fungi is Cordyceps unilateralis, famously dubbed the zombie ant fungus. This species employs a gruesome reproductive strategy where fungal structures sprout through the ant's head post-mortem. However, the fungus faces a challenge with this reproductive approach due to the social nature of ants, which typically work to protect their colonies from infections. Ordinarily, ants remove deceased members from the nest, making it difficult for the fungus to spread. To overcome this obstacle, the fungus manipulates infected ants to leave the safety of the colony, ascend above it, and clamp onto nearby vegetation as they near death, a phenomenon termed summiting. Following the ant's demise, typically within a day or two, parasitic fungal spores burst forth from its head, showering the colony with the pathogen. Interestingly, this climbing behavior upon infection isn't unique to Cordyceps infected ants alone. It's observed across various insect species and can be triggered by viruses, trematode parasites, and different fungal species unrelated to Cordyceps. This behavior even has a colloquial name, summit disease. What mechanisms underlie these infections? The exact mechanisms underlying these infections remain elusive. However, recent research has uncovered chemical signals emitted by fungi within infected insects. Some of these signals, likely in the form of secreted proteins, appear to target the host's behavioral systems, influencing actions such as summiting and nest abandonment. Scientists speculate that these pathogens may exploit pre-existing behaviors related to molting and sleep, which have evolved over millions of years. Molting, the process whereby an insect sheds its old exoskeleton to make way for a larger one, renders the insect vulnerable during the transition period when the new exoskeleton hasn't yet hardened sufficiently. In response to this vulnerability, insects have developed behaviors such as wandering away from the nest and summiting. Similarly, sleep is another vulnerable state for insects, prompting certain species to adopt sleeping positions that involve grasping onto grass or leaves. Both molting and sleep are regulated by the insect's circadian rhythm, and summiting seems to follow this pattern as well, with many infected species exhibiting this behavior at predictable times. For instance, in Cordyceps infected carpenter ants, summiting consistently occurs around solar noon. Therefore, exploring the biological mechanisms associated with an insect's circadian rhythm appears to be a promising avenue for further investigation. Could Cordyceps infect humans? The answer is no. Due to their highly specialized nature, individual species of Cordyceps fungi exclusively target a narrow range of insects and do not pose any threat to humans whatsoever. In fact, Cordyceps supplements are marketed as health foods, despite a lack of scientific evidence supporting their purported health benefits. Does this imply we're entirely safe from such infections? While it's true that Cordyceps fungi pose no direct threat to humans, it doesn't mean we can dismiss the potential dangers of fungal infections altogether. Fungi have long been recognized for their ability to alter human behavior, exemplified by compounds like psilocybin from psilocybe mushrooms and ergot from claviceps contaminated grain, both of which can induce profound psychological effects. Furthermore, certain fungal infections can be not only deadly but also surreal in their manifestations. Just last year, the World Health Organization issued its inaugural list of fungal priority pathogens for humans, underscoring their significant health implications and growing resistance to treatment. Take, for instance, the fungal pathogen Candida auris, capable of causing bloodstream infections that carry a mortality rate of up to 60% among those affected. Hence, while we may be safe from Cordyceps infections, the threat posed by other fungal pathogens should not be underestimated. What about infections other than fungal ones? Various pathogens have demonstrated the ability to influence behavior in mammals, potentially including humans. One well-known example is the single-celled parasite Toxoplasma gondii, which reproduces in cats and infects approximately 1/3 of the global human population. Although the infection it causes, known as Toxoplasmosis, typically manifests as mild flu-like symptoms in humans, it can have devastating effects on immunocompromised individuals and pose serious risks to developing fetuses. Hence, pregnant individuals are advised to avoid contact with cat litter. Similar to Cordyceps, Toxoplasma is capable of manipulating host behavior. Multiple rodent studies, including one conducted last year, have demonstrated that Toxoplasma-infected rodents lose their fear of cat urine and instead are drawn to it. This behavioral alteration appears to serve the parasite's ultimate goal of getting its rodent host consumed by a cat, the parasite's final host. Over the past 7 decades, researchers have delved into the behavioral effects of Toxoplasma infection in humans. Numerous studies have linked it to mood disorders and mental health issues, including schizophrenia. Moreover, the parasite may induce subtler behavioral changes, such as promoting risky behaviors and potentially even influencing political beliefs. The precise mechanisms by which the parasite achieves these behavioral modifications remain unclear. Researchers suspect that it subtly manipulates the chemicals produced by our cells, leading to alterations in behavior. Additionally, studies suggest that chronic infection with the parasite can impact the levels of neurotransmitters, chemicals responsible for transmitting signals between neurons, associated with reward and motivation, such as dopamine. By manipulating these neurochemicals, the parasite could potentially influence our actions. Don't forget to check out our dedicated video on Toxoplasma gondii for more in-depth insights. What else can alter human behavior involuntarily? Another pathogen capable of altering human behavior against their will is rabies, a mammalian virus transmitted primarily through infected saliva, typically via biting. In the United States, bats are the primary carriers of rabies, although raccoons, skunks, and foxes can also transmit the virus. Outside the US, rabid dogs are the main source of human infections, resulting in approximately 60,000 deaths annually worldwide. Rabies infections induce aggressiveness in the host, making them more prone to biting others, a behavior that potentially serves to facilitate the transmission of the virus. Despite descriptions of rabies infections dating back centuries, much about the molecular pathways it exploits remains a subject of ongoing research. The virus is neurotropic, meaning it targets the nervous system, but the precise mechanisms underlying the development of specific symptoms are still not fully understood. Studies suggest that the rabies glycoprotein, a large molecule present on the virus's surface that binds to host cells, may interact with host proteins involved in muscular contractions. If the rabies glycoprotein binds to and occupies these receptors, it could disrupt neuronal communication with other cells. In fact, artificially inhibiting these receptors using a portion of the rabies glycoprotein has been shown to induce rabies-like behavior in mice. Do pathogens definitively alter human behavior? The extent to which pathogens can actively alter human behavior remains a subject of ongoing investigation and debate. Infections have been observed to influence a host's behavior in various ways. For instance, a pathogen might manipulate the host's behavior to enhance the likelihood of its own reproduction, akin to how Cordyceps affects ants. Alternatively, the behavioral changes in the host could simply be a byproduct of feeling unwell, more of a coincidence than a deliberate manipulation by the pathogen. Studying this relationship in humans presents significant ethical challenges, limiting the scope of direct experimentation through clinical trials. Consequently, researchers often rely on epidemiological studies, comparing the behavior of infected individuals to their typical behavior. Additionally, animal studies offer valuable insights, although they may not always perfectly replicate human behaviors. Even in the absence of conclusive evidence pinpointing the mechanisms through which pathogens induce behavioral changes, it's evident that some degree of loss of control can occur. While scenarios of a zombie-like plague or a virus gaining complete control over human actions may seem far-fetched, it would be imprudent to underestimate the potential of nature's influence. We remain vulnerable to the whims of numerous pathogens, whether or not they exert direct control over our brains. And there you have it, folks. From fungi that turn ants into zombies to parasites messing with our minds, it's been quite the ride. If you're itching for more mind-bending content, hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. Stay tuned for more infectious adventures.